Princess Diana captured the imagination of millions, but as we mourn the anniversary of her death 2 decades ago today, what was her legacy? In her brief, spectacular lifetime she swept away preconceptions of what the royal family was like and how they really conducted themselves. Before Diana, the monarchy was perceived as stable but dull. She changed that. Diana brought some much-needed glamour. She broke royal protocol by kneeling to greet children. She sat on the hospital beds of the sick and infirm. She held the hands of the weak. She touched the cheeks of the elderly and dying. Diana would run up to her boys, arms outstretched in greeting, when she had not seen them for a while. The Queen, as Princess Elizabeth, was obliged to offer a remote handshake to her young child Prince Charles even though she had not seen him for several months. Diana was like a normal mum. She took her children to school. She ran in the mother's race on sports day. She was not going to wait for an official photograph when she had her first child. She stood on the hospital steps holding her baby for all the world to see. It was not easy for her, and on many occasions she wanted to cry and hide, but she had an uncanny feeling for what people wanted and gave it to them. Today the royals are much more open. Kate and William release photographs of Prince George and Princess Charlotte. They may not want to. William harbors resentment against photographers for how they hounded his mum, but he knows, from her, that he must do it. Just before she died, she warned William and Harry, when they went to Balmoral, not to be photographed with a gun in their hands. She knew they would be accused of shooting Bambies and it would not do any good. They took her advice. Diana's greatest legacy is her sons, who are the way they are because of how she brought them up. She took them to visit homeless people, which had a lasting effect. She took William to visit cancer patients and taught them both to integrate with the less fortunate. Her visits were not designed to make her look good but to bring public attention to a cause. In 2009, Prince William spent a night sleeping rough on the streets of London to experience being homeless. He bedded down in a sleeping bag next to wheelie bins near Blackfriars Bridge, and brought massive focus on his charity, Centrepoint, as his mother had done before him. In April 1987, Princess Diana opened the UK's first purpose-built HIV/AIDS unit, which cared exclusively for patients with the virus. At London's Middlesex Hospital, in front of the media, she shook the hand of a man suffering with the illness. She did so without gloves, challenging the notion that HIV/AIDS was passed from person to person by touch. In that gesture, she showed this was a condition needing compassion and understanding, not fear and ignorance, as was the case in the 80s when many were dying of the illness. In Indonesia, she took what was left of the hand of a young leper. You could see the photographers recoil, but Diana knew leprosy could not be caught by touch. The image made a powerful impression. Reverend Tony Lloyd, director of the Leprosy Mission, told her, "You have done more for the education of the public about the stigma of leprosy than we have done in 120 years. To Diana, her greatest personal legacy was her campaign to rid the world of landmines. Her trips to Angola and walk through a field of landmines for the Halo Trust so moved her that she wrote out a cheque for £250,000 against her divorce settlement and donated it to help treat victims. After her death, her efforts were rewarded with the signing of the Ottawa Treaty to ban the mines. But this cause aside, Diana was determined to do all she could to aid those in need and was forever on the lookout for projects. When I visited her in Kensington Palace only weeks before her death, we discussed what she might do. She had invited me for a girly chat, as she thought I knew of her involvement with heart and lung surgeon Hasnat Khan. I had no clue but had written she was smuggling someone into the palace, hiding them in her butler's car under a blanket. Diana told me she wanted to do all she could to eradicate child abuse and forced prostitution in Asia. She had seen a TV program showing how children were being kidnapped and made to sell themselves for sex. As it turned out, it was one of her final wishes. She had no idea exactly how she was going to do it, but I have no doubt she would have found a way. If only she had survived, I am certain she would have had a huge impact on that particular cause. I admired her energy and her enthusiasm. She knew she was powerful enough to get things done. Because I appear to have this power, I feel I must use it, she told me, and now her sons do the same. After opening a hospice in Southport in 1992, she broke down in tears. For a royal to do this was unheard of. She showed it was okay to cry in public and show emotion. When Diana walked through the minefields, she dressed the part. Armani jeans, chinos and polo shirts from Ralph Lauren and sneakers from Tod's. Her work, together with her style of doing things, inspired many celebrities to follow suit. The way she dressed has been copied for the past 2 decades, including by her daughter-in-law, the Duchess of Cambridge. She had a signature style, a clean, breezy, preppy look when relaxed and a glamorous, formal elegance when the occasion demanded. By putting her marital unhappiness on the national agenda and talking about her bulimia in the sensational 1995 Panorama TV interview, Diana raised awareness of talking openly. She described her feelings of inadequacy. When she spoke about her husband's infidelity, women empathized. She could not weather the marital storms as the Queen had done. She had neither the Queen's strength of character, nor her ability to compartmentalize her life and put duty before all else. In her demands for love and sympathy, Diana gave self-fulfillment precedence over duty. Princess Anne discharged hundreds of engagements a year, and the Queen, already then an OAP, continued with a grueling schedule. But it is the image of an embattled, badly treated young woman struggling to survive which still dominates memories of the monarchy in the 90s. The recriminations continue 20 years later. The Prince of Wales founded and runs Britain's largest charitable network, the Prince's Trust, dedicated to helping young people, but it is his relationship with Diana which fascinates people. Such was the climate of suspicion generated by her life and death. Many still see a conspiracy behind that fatal car crash 20 years ago. In the hysteria that followed, there was room to accommodate every crank, and Diana's name was used in a way that would have shocked her. She also changed the way the public mourn. The outpouring of public grief after her death has never been repeated. The royal family could not escape her legacy either. The public mourning was testimony to the effect Diana had on the British, and the royal family had to bow to public pressure and pay tribute to this often confused, sometimes difficult, occasionally irascible but always open-hearted woman. We are a much more caring nation than we used to be. We have softened our stiff upper lips and learned to show feelings. It is now normal to share openly our sorrow at the loss of a beloved public figure. I consider that to be in large part thanks to Diana, and that is how she would have wished to be remembered, as the woman who cared for others and made others do the same. She gave us 2 lovely, humble boys who happened to be princes, when they were very young and thought that privileged life was the norm. Diana used to say, "Not everyone has a Range Rover and a country house." They laughed at her, but it had a lasting impact. Both have pledged to carry on with her charity work and made it their business to help those who need to express their feelings, and in doing so make their world a better place. It is what Diana would have wished.